In the last video, we saw how different types of cells are so different from each other. And especially we looked at how the cell's shape is so important in performing the specific function. Now in this video, we are going to take a look at two other key differences that we see among the cells. Differences in size of the cells and differences in the number of cells that make up an organism. Let's start with the number of cells. Now, much like shape, here again we have a huge variety. And remember, we have seen some of this already. We saw this yeast cell and even some other microorganisms like bacteria and protozoas in our chapter about microorganisms. Now, in all of these cases, the organism is made up of just one cell. And this single cell can actually perform all the functions required for the survival and reproduction of that organism. Now, this class of living organisms, which are all made up of just one cell, are called unicellular organisms. Let's take a look at one of them here. The amoeba cell that you see here is capable of all the functions needed for life, like capturing and digesting food. You see the finger-like projections on the cell here? They can actually change shape and engulf any food that it comes across. Once food is completely ingested, it can push it to one of these circular food vacuoles where it is digested and the energy is consumed. Not just that, the same cell also performs other functions like respiration, excretion of waste, and even reproduction. But on the other hand, organisms like us, humans, are made up of many cells, and actually of many different types. And each of these different types of cells perform very specific function. Now, these organisms that are made up of many cells are called multicellular organisms. But here again, we see a wide variety. We have some tiny organisms like insects made up of few thousands of cells, all the way to these huge animals like whales that are made up of quadrillion cells. And an average adult human like me is made up of about 37 trillion cells. That is a lot compared to the one cell of a unicellular organism. Okay, we looked at the variety in terms of number of cells. Now, how about the size of different cells? Well, no surprise here either. Different cells can actually be of very different sizes. It can range from this really tiny microscopic size, which are invisible to our naked eyes, to really huge ones. Did you know the eggs of animals, like the ones we get from chicken or other birds, are all just one huge cell? And the largest of them today is the Ostrich Egg Cell. Now, typically, all the cells of a particular type are of same size. Like when we observed under a microscope, all blood cells, for example, were of very similar sizes. But when we compare cells of two different types, they can have vastly different sizes. Now, can you guess why that is? And the answer, unsurprisingly, again, lies in the function that they carry out. So, it is important to understand that the size of the cell is not determined by the size of the organism, rather mainly by the function it performs. So, if you look at the blood cells from a small baby or an adult human, you will notice the size doesn't change. What changes is the number of cells as the baby grows over years into an adult person. Now, we already know why blood cells are so small, because they must squeeze through these tiny blood vessels as they flow through the body. But how about the ostrich egg cell? Why is that so big? It is as big as 24 chicken eggs. But anyways, why is that so big? What function does that serve? Now, as you might already know, a fertilized egg will contain inside it an embryo, which is the unborn offspring, in this case, the baby ostrich. And this egg will act as the home for this baby ostrich to grow and hatch out. During this time though, the baby needs food and protection. So, majority of this egg cell, the egg white and the yellow yolk, provide nutrition for the growing baby and also protect them against different pathogens. And because the ostrich babies are so big compared to chicken babies, they need a lot more nutrition. And that is why the ostrich egg cells have evolved to be so large, to be able to provide enough nutrition to the baby while it's growing. So that's why we see so much variety in the size of the cells based on the function they perform. Right? Now, okay, so far we have learned some general concepts of the cell, what it is, and looked at some examples. We also saw the variety that cells have in terms of size, shape, and the number of cells. In the next video, let's start diving deeper and look at different components found inside the cell and really understand how the cell can perform so many different functions. See you there.